Hey, I'm Charles Soule. You're watching SuperWonder Legacy.
Hey, this is Jason J. Lewis, Superman from Justice League Action, and you're watching SuperWonder Legacy.
You're strong.
I know.
You a sight for sore eyes.
It's nice to have someone who likes you for being you.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I am here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello.
And today we are discussing, well, comparing really Wonder Woman and Angela. So Thor's sister and our favorite Amazon that DC likes to crap on. So let's get started on this. So these like Marvel comparisons, because then I get to flex my comic knowledge on Britt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the thing, so you should know about Angela is that she has a very complicated history. Let me put it to you that way. And it's like, it's one of those like origins that when you look at it, it's one of those things where she started off as like an Image Comics character, but then Todd McFarlane was kind of a dick, and then she became a Marvel character despite him.
That is when Marvel could probably flex that they can, take over or buy any type of character too.
Well, yeah, and that was also back when Marvel was actually not like falling apart. But anyway, so obviously with Angela, let's get started. So Angela is the sister of Thor. She was introduced in, I believe, Age of Ultron. Well, she was introduced in the main Marvel universe in Age of Ultron, the book, not the movie. The book has nothing to do with the plot of the movie, Britt. Nothing at all. I'll explain it when we get there, but it's really hilarious when you actually read the book, and I'm like, this is nothing like the original. Like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get started with, so Britt, tell me your general thoughts on Angela before we get started.
Well, the most that I saw from her was just I think her introduction was actually Marvel Rivals, the the designs and stuff and the controversy, or I wouldn't say it's controversy. I don't know what to call it.
Well, that did get a lot of like heat because the characters are drawn very sexy. Let me put it to you that way.
I would say that was pretty much my introduction to her as of now. But with, of course, our research for the show, I didn't know that she pretty much has, that mixture of Thor and Wonder Woman within that. She's definitely fit in that Amazonian type way. And in regards to the representation, I would say that she is mostly like what fans want absolute Wonder Woman to be.
Yeah, exactly. And let me put it to you this way, as opposed to like Diana, who they go back and forth on her LGBTQ-ness, Angela's very much that way. Angela's very much explicitly that way. It's not like, oh, the company doesn't really acknowledge it, even though currently her, I think, wife hasn't been like in the comics for a while, but we'll talk about that. So we're going to start with this D-less character. Who's ever heard of Wonder Woman? Certainly not DC.
Right. Well, in case no one knows who she is, she is an Amazon. She was created from clay. However, she is still human, blessed by the gods. She is, unfortunately, a member of the Justice League.
Unfortunately.
And she is, even though she was created in 1941 by Marston and his complicated relationships and, all of that, that does not mean that is implemented to the character. She is supposed to represent true feminism, which is equality and respect and, honor for women. And it isn't about domination or this girl boss mentality where, just thinking that everything that goes against a certain belief is misogynistic or sexist. It's not that. It's just having that sort of respect you know, um, for female characters or real women, uh, Tom King and Tomasi.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and yeah, and just because she is blessed by the gods does not mean that she is a god herself. She is very much a human earth woman. Just
Literally,
because,
like
just
literally.
literally, and just because she is from an island, a Mediterranean island, a foreign island, that does not mean her humanity is supposed to be in question either. Um, Humanity does not mean being American.
As opposed to what some people would probably believe. So then we get to the subject of today's stream, Angela, otherwise known as Aldrich Odin's daughter.
What a mouthful.
Well, because the way Norse names people is like, it's your father's name. It's like Thor is Thor Odin's son, and this is how they do Odin's daughter.
Right.
But yeah, so I want to ask you real quick. So what do you think of her Marvel Rivals design? It's the one I have in the background here.
I mean, as the game is supposed to be, I think all of them have this very unique take on the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It is very godly, but it does lean more to the Gooner bait for sure.
Oh, on both sides too, because have you seen the controversy surrounding Captain America in this recent update?
I have.
Yeah, apparently they had to lower his package because it was clipping through.
Hilarious.
And he has jiggle physics.
Yeah.
Like, all right, but hey, at least it's even. But yeah, but the other thing, so the other thing I really like about Angela is the one wing, not two, one. Which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, so tell us about Angela.
Oh, but that's your field.
Oh yeah, okay. So, all right. She started off as like a Spawn character, and we'll get into what the original thing was later. But to give you an idea, McFarlane tried to like screw over Neil Gaiman. This is before everyone knew what a perv Neil Gaiman is. And Gaiman essentially won the lawsuit and took Angela, but as a screw you to Todd McFarlane, he sold the rights to Marvel. So that's where she was like introduced as like the warrior from heaven. So the way that Thor mythology works is there are traditionally 9 realms, like in the movie. There's Midgard, Asgard, and all that stuff. But what you didn't know is that there was a secret 10th realm, because what had happened is Asgard and heaven were at war for so long, and then Asgard supposedly killed Angela as a baby. So as vengeance, Odin cut off heaven from the other realms. I mean, they were like isolated on their own forever.
Wow.
And so, and the idea of like, and Angela eventually like finds out who she is, because at first she doesn't remember. Then Thor shows up and goes, "No, you're my sister." And she and Thor have a very like tense relationship, but they've been allies before, so it's not like they're openly antagonistic. She does not like Loki though, for obvious reasons. But she has been like the leader of like several groups. And the thing about Angela is she's one of these characters that she has had her own series, but they haven't really given her enough attention, I think, and that she's been relegated to a Thor background character. Because I think if they do this character right, this is another example of Marvel having the perfect Wonder Woman.
Well, of course, they don't, either company, it really depends. They don't want a female character to be too
famous.
Well, yeah, that famous, well known, and take the spotlight from the male character. So, given that Angela, is kind of like an answer to Thor, well, she would take that spotlight, especially from the time of, MCU and how Thor kind of drifted a little, with the fan base, and his popularity went down a little bit. So with
Mhm.
having this female character who, and at that time, especially during the Wonder Woman DCEU, I would say the 2017 movie, when it was this hype for female characters,
Mhm.
then she would have been one of them that people will probably gravitate to. So yeah, they don't want that. And we see the problem also with Wonder Woman, that they don't want these, female characters to take the spotlight, and they are intimidated by them.
That's true. So, so then you get to the similarities. Obviously, they're both like mythology characters. They both are like warriors. Although Diana is more on the peaceful side, but we'll get to that later. And then they both have that outsider perspective because Angela was like growing up only among angels, and obviously Wonder Woman only grew up amongst Amazons and then came into man's world and such. And and then Angela is more like she doesn't care about system. She just wants to like, I guess, exist or something like that. And it's like obviously they share more a few or more than a few visual like representations, like that little sash on her arm in the bottom image, Britt, that also can function as a whip. So I'm wondering. I think I know what they were inspired by.
Right. Either Diana or Catwoman.
Yeah, probably. I think more Diana because of the character design, but it's still cool. But it's like, and Angela's one of those characters because the thing about it, I think Angela could be more popular. What's up, Cameron? If they introduce her in a popular Thor movie, because here the thing is, like, yeah, Thor took a hit, but they're supposed to be making another Thor movie that's supposed to be more serious. So if they make a more serious Thor movie and then introduce her, then it's like, okay, now you actually have like a popular female character, because you can't tell me that wouldn't like explode.
Right.
So then you get to the key differences. Wonder Woman is much less of a warrior than Angela. Like she's much more like, no, we have to talk. Let's talk through her. She's more of the diplomacy. Angela is often the, okay, can diplomacy involve chopping off someone's head? That's
So
pretty
in a
much how I would
sense,
describe her.
in a sense, that was like how they would describe New 52 Diana.
Yep.
Hit first or slash first, and then ask questions later.
Yeah, but she does. She has a code and stuff. She's not just gonna like murder everyone. Like she's not a villain or anything like that. It's just like she's not. What I do like about her though is like the obvious like choice would be for them to just like make her part of Thor's world and just like be done with it and just like have her like integrate fully with Thor's world. Oh my gosh, my brother and stuff. No, she doesn't. She like hangs out just like among her own on her own. So it's not like they like force her in.
Right.
Which I really appreciate for that. So then you get to the narrative role. So as opposed to Wonder Woman being like, at least in name only, the member of the Trinity and the one that like everyone looks up to, Angela's more like a niche character and like more like of a Thor supporting character. Although Wonder Woman, you could say, has become a supporting character in her own damn book.
Well, yeah, now that you have Tom King, who wants his self-insertion of himself and his daughter, then yeah, Diana is a support I mean, we have not had even a monologue or anything from her.
Yeah, and isn't it kind of funny that one panel in 33 that is emblematic of the Tom King Wonder Woman image? It's I almost said Tom King, might as well. Steve Trevor and Trinity hugging, and then off to the side is Diana. I'm like, it's your supposed lover and your daughter. You're just gonna stand there,
right?
I'm
and
like,
then he tried to give them that, cringy family hug, but it still even looked awkward then.
Yeah, and then she offs herself. But anyway, it's like, but with Angela, she's also one of those characters that again, if they do it properly, she is definitely a character that I think has the potential to arise. Because first off, I'm just going to tell you this. As you've heard me say many times, Britt, most of the comic book audience is male. And let's be honest, objectively, she's hot. So you already have that. Partly why Satana is so popular. And then you also have like her overall story. And I'm like, she's a 4-quadrant character already.
Exactly.
So then you get to world building influence. And again, there's an entire world around Wonder Woman, but Angela is kind of like a supporting element in Thor's world. Although there have been times where she had her own stuff, like in this book, as Guardians of the Galaxy, when she the Destroyer armor, like Boar and a couple of other characters like travel the galaxy in search of a mythical item. But it's like she has periods where she does lead groups, lead her own books, but it's like it's typically not labeled Angela. That's the thing.
Yeah, that is, on one hand, she does have the, right components to be this popular character. On the other, just because the character can be liked and have this certain fan base, it doesn't mean that she could sustain her own book that is, for some reason, the trouble.
Well, yeah, it's like when Sam Liu was on my show and he goes, I get like things all the time. Oh, we should make a movie about this. We should make a movie about this character. And then it's like, he's like, when I make the movies, you guys never watch them.
Because sometimes, people under or overestimate their fan base. They inflate it. Especially, we know a lot of fan bases in DC that are inflated. And, once DC caves in and give them what they want, and then you have the book, it can't even reach the top 50.
So you're talking about a certain afterbirth? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, of course, all full shade, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the other issue, it's like, yeah, it's like, it is kind of ridiculous when they do this, or DC or some fandoms think they're larger than they are, like the ones I encountered today when I put out a video saying to stop shipping Wonder Woman with Amazons. That was fun. Anyway, consistency. It's like Diana's the most inconsistent character at DC. Like, they keep changing her origin. They keep changing this. It's like even Tom King. He's like, I'm going to change her origin to the clay origin, but still have Zeus call her, I'm your father. So I'm like, what are you doing? Or like even the fates go back and forth. I'm like, just pick one.
I mean, that's pretty much a meta commentary in a sense of how, yeah, Diana is very much an inconsistent character. And the thing is, even with going to her origin, it's components that no one wants to touch. It's people to implement for their story. So as of tomorrow, we will have another retelling of her origin story, but it is associated to Tom King's run. So
it's written by Stephanie, so
I mean, yes, it is written by her, but at the same time, it's still King. So it's her. I would say it's a little bit more acceptable because of her, and she knows how to at least gear it towards an acceptance, for it to Diana. Because if Tom King were to write it, we know that not only would Steve be narrating it, but he would also really enforce that Steve is, for Diana's motivation and purpose, which, I mean, we haven't seen it yet, and it's probably going to still lean towards that because he is telling the story, Mm-hmm. So it would have been better if the Fates would have retold it, but going with the fact that it's Steve and, it's still Tom King's overall story. It has to match, what he's trying to do. So with Steve telling it, of course, he's going to be an important part of that, which wasn't He was important, but wasn't that important within Perez origin, you know, or even New 52. You know, he wasn't that important of, yes, Diana saw him as the ticket out, quote unquote, but she wasn't romantically involved with him like that. She didn't love him or care for him in that true romantic sense. Um, because she wasn't ready for that. It was pretty much forced on her. Then you have Rucka's Year One, where he wanted this Disney-fied version of her, and this bastardized version of Perez as well, but take out the most important parts, which he wanted Diana to never come back to Themyscira, and that doesn't make sense with her ambassador role. He wanted Steve and Minerva to have more important roles as well. When, again, going to Perez, he had Julia and Vanessa. Yes, Steve was important, but he was an old man. He was basically, well, now that we see, he was her blood brother from Diana Rockwell, and he was married to Etta. So, those type of components, now that DC or Tom King wants to enforce that Steve is a love interest, we can't get those origins back.
Yeah, exactly. But then, but yeah, I know it's really weird because, and I see so many people that think that the way Tom King has been writing her is like, particularly with Steve, is the way it was like always been. He's like, oh, in the golden age, she was with Steve, and I go, yeah, but he was a raging misogynist.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, using golden age for some things is not a flex, because I mean, it's 1940. That would be equivalent in a way of justifying the racism that was in comic books, and I don't think anyone wants to justify that.
Yeah, exactly. So then you have the impact as powerful female heroes, because obviously Wonder Woman has an impact when DC allows her to have an impact, and in the fact that all major DC female characters are based on Wonder Woman, and she is the first lady of comics, not Lois Lane. But it's like with Angela, I mean, so far she's made strides in Marvel Rivals, but yeah, it's like she's waiting for her big break. And really, I definitely do think that this character is posed to have a major like role at some point.
I mean, especially if they capitalize on Marvel Rivals. As I said, it is a controversy with them trying to go overboard with the sexiness, but at the same time, people are getting to know the character or interested in the character.
Yeah, and it's like, again, when you're dealing with what's the most the audience for superheroes and comic books, straight guys. How do you get their attention?
Right.
Do I like it? No. Doesn't make it any less true. But it's like, yeah, but here's the thing, Britt. So Marvel addressed, like, because someone asked them, are you going to start like having the characters be drawn more attractively because of Marvel Rivals? And then Brevoort, I call him the perpetual bad idea, says that, like, no, because we don't want the games to be able to dictate how we do the comics. So I'm like, hey, bro, I get what you're saying to a degree, but when you have something that's getting people so interested in your characters to the point where comic book stores have entire racks that it's like, oh, here's your read the stories of these famous Marvel Rivals characters. With the fact that happens and you're still like, nah, we don't want to do that. I'm like, are you stupid? Why is that? The problem with Marvel Comics is they run away from what is helping them become bigger.
I think that is, I don't know, maybe they got bit by the DC bug.
Mm-hmm. At least DC sometimes leans a little way too into it, but still. But I'm like, why are you just ignoring it?
I have no idea.
And then impact on female fans, because now both are female iconic, both are somewhat iconic female characters, and Angela is well known among Marvel fans, so there is that. And it's like they're both seen as like images of power and like and like independents, unless when they're written by Tom King, as we all know that. As we all know
And
that.
Tomasi.
And Tomasi and Jurgens and all those other turds that have ruined DC Comics because they're all nostalgic and stuff. But it's and Rucka, honestly. Rucka would love Angela. Angela is everything that guy wants. He could be a spiritual lesbian all he wants with that character, aka straight man.
She could, but for some reason he wants, the true well-known female character though.
So it's all about his ego.
Pretty much. He is a diva.
Yeah, as we saw with him calling out Jeff Johns. But yeah, but it's like I love when he did that, and it didn't help his book. Because when you look at, did you see that they changed the name of the book when it was collected into trades, Britt?
No.
So it used to be called Cheetah and Cheshire Rob the Justice League. Now it's called Justice League. Cheetah and Cheshire Rob the Justice League. I think they realized that Cheetah and Cheshire aren't bringing people to buy the books.
So, okay. So you say Justice League twice. That is so ignorant. That is so...
no, actually, it's not twice. So it's Justice League, Cheetah and Cheshire Rob the Watchtower. I think. Hang on. Let me check this. Let me double check this. Justice League, Cheetah and Cheshire. And it's called, Justice League, Cheetah and Cheshire Rob the Watchtower.
I mean, I guess.
No, but I find it funny how they changed the name of the book because it was SEO bad.
Yeah. I mean, no one is going to, still buy it, but...
Remember when there were times it didn't chart on the 200 list?
I mean, yeah, no one cares.
No wonder he went on a fit. But anyway, so this is the other thing. All right. So Angela's much more explicit. Here's the thing about Angela also. Here's why I'm fine with Angela. Because Angela was not born and raised. She's not dating someone that was essentially there at her birth. That's the problem. That's what I tried to say in my Wonder Woman Wednesday video last week. I'm like, listen, guys, I get that you want Wonder Woman to be this way, but can we not have it be icky?
I mean, you have to say it in the sense of, you have to word it better,
Obviously, I didn't word it like that.
I mean, obviously. And, I mean, they still kind of make somewhat of an excuse to it because they want Diana to be thousands of years old.
Yeah, and I'd say that's not canon anymore.
I
Apparently, no one read New History of the DC Universe. That's the funny part. I have to keep referring to New History of the DC Universe.
I mean, yeah, that...
They think Rucka is still canon. That's the funny part. Which part of him is, I think his canon extends from when she leaves the island, because if you notice, Cassia is not canon, unless of course you count the dream that Dreamer has, not even Diana. Besides that, she has never shown up once.
I don't even know. Honestly, Rucka's stuff it's not even referenced, so I don't know.
Yeah, so I think it's more like just like, okay, these are the people that she met in Man's World and stuff. But anyway, but it's like, so with Angela, all right, so with Angela, so there was this character named Sarah who was like an angel from an all-male race. Now what happened is that Sarah died at some point. If I remember the story correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong from your research, Sarah died and then was brought back as a woman. So that's where they explain the whole she is in a relationship with a trans woman, which I'm like, hey, that works. You explained it perfectly.
I didn't do much research with that. I just know that, just did the basic. I didn't do that much of a deep dive. But yeah, if that is what happened, then more power to you.
Yeah. All right. Cameron brings up I didn't even say all Amazons, just the ones that raised her and changed her diapers. Yeah. someone really well, when I was more going up against Britt, and there's a reason why I use that image in my thumbnail. I was against the can you stop using the Earth 1 image, because that's even worse when you look at the context. And they still tried to argue with me. They still
They're
tried
not
to argue.
going. No, no one is going to use context. That, you know, is about just the image itself.
Yeah, exactly. So then you get to editorial and creative treatment, because again, they both are similar in that they both have been sidelined, both in their own book and in other books, because again, you have like Angela's become like a Thor backup character. But Wonder Woman, not just in her own book, she's not even allowed to be like the leader she is in the Trinity, because that would like deflect attention away from either Superman or Batman or Lois. So she has to be like very isolated in her own world. And it's also because, and the other thing is like, she's often isolated to the point where writers don't want to write her world because they don't know how to write this, or they just want her to be like forever like locked into man's world, like Rucka, even though that makes no sense. Oh, also according to Jid, by the way, do you know Rucka wanted her to sleep with the Amazons because he wanted her to sleep with it? Actually, no, this was more Phil Jimenez, which is even more creepy. He said he liked Diana being with Amazons because he wanted her to sleep with her teachers.
Yeah.
This is the man that wanted that had in the BVS documentary said, I wanted to be with Batman because I wanted to be with the bad boy. And I'm like, no wonder the Wonder Woman fan base is kind of turned on you, besides making Anne Frank jokes.
Yep.
Anyway, but it's like the thing about, the thing about it is like, it's interesting how like Marvel does the exact. This is why when someone asked me, hey, would you think Marvel would treat Wonder Woman better? And I go, no, look at Angela. Look at all these other, because here's what would happen if Wonder Woman was owned by Marvel, Britt. Are you ready? They would integrate her into Thor's world and then just make her a side character in Thor's book.
True.
So it's like, you're screwed either way. At least here, she is, at least in name only, a major player in the DC universe.
I mean, Diana is, she is supposed to be a main player. Even Mark Waid, he said that she was to be the leader in his Justice League book, but we see that has not happened.
Yeah,
He started.
I was about to say, when?
He did start it in a sense in the first couple of issues, but once I would say maybe Absolute Power, or well, no. When was the book? Was that after Absolute Power?
It was Absolute Power, because Absolute Power established the need for a Justice League again.
Okay, so what was that? It was KO. Okay, so after KO is, and when Superman disappeared or whatever, that was really when Diana also stepped back. Or right before KO, that is when she sort of, you see her less within the book, and it becomes more of like, I would say the C-listers, and also having synergy with Guy, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl, even having a moment there. But yeah, it's basically like he's trying to make dynamics work, but they don't. And even with it just feels like well, in one of his interviews, he did say that they are even trying to find that specific couple, that romantic like focal point too, and they can't. It's certain things that it seems so limited now, that the dynamics that they used to have in Post Crisis or New 52, they don't have it anymore. So they're just really just going whichever way they can. So yeah, Diana, she doesn't have a stable supporting cast. She doesn't have stable dynamics with anyone. So she is going to fall into the background.
Exactly, despite the fact that she is a member of the Trinity, as that's what they try and say. So you have media representation. So Wonder Woman has been in like other stuff, like again the movies, the Justice League cartoon, even though sometimes we wish she wouldn't. And then you have like Suicide Squad kill the Justice League, and then we have Angela hasn't been in a lot of stuff. She's cameoed in, ironically, the Guardians of the Galaxy cartoon series that they did a while ago, because it's like she's obviously Thor's sister, and there was this one point where the kingdom where Star-Lord is from goes to war against Asgard, and she's one of the warriors. And then you have like, besides that, she was in Marvel Rivals, obviously, as you can see here. She's one of my mains, so she's actually very useful. I mean, I'm the Wonder Woman fan, so is that really a surprise? And then where else has Angela shown? Because as far as I know, she also did a cameo in the Spawn movie, though. That's the other funny part, because there's a character. And I'll show a little bit of that when we get to her Spawn history, because it's like there's a character that has her earrings in the movie, and that's actually Angela.
Interesting.
But what do you think of Wonder Woman's portrayal across media, Britt?
Should I answer? Yeah, it's been very poor. You did have Super Friends. You had the episode from Ruby Spears. Superman, that was decent or good. Justice League Action was good for the most part. Tomorrowverse, with the limited budget and storytelling that they could do, she was shown as the leader. Let's see, DC AMU, the first half was okay, but of course they screwed up with the second half that we don't want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And then DCAU, JLU, that was atrocious, of course. I'm just glad that she never got a DCAU animated show, because I think that would have really had her misinterpreted, with the wider audience. And it feels like a lot of times the outside of comics, they want that to bleed into the comics, and it does not go well. They just don't want to adapt the comic material, which honestly, it would be much easier. You have a lot of people gearing towards Perez's version of Wonder Woman now, so that should be capitalized on.
Well, yeah, and the other thing, it's like Cameron also brings up Young Justice. They kind of had an interest. She even had an interesting relationship with Superman in that, until they all of a sudden went out of nowhere, and it's like, oh yeah, he's with Lois and they have John, and I'm like, since when?
Since they tried to have Rebirth everywhere, and Synergy was like everything had to be one and the same.
Isn't it kind of funny that despite forcing Rebirth everywhere, like it's still forgotten largely?
Well, it was them trying to be safe, but I mean, yeah.
Which let's be honest, Rebirth deserves to be forgotten to the ass heap of comic history. But yeah, but it's like also so they showed Donna, but she was called Troya, and she was the Amazonian representative to the UN. And I'm like, but they never really had that. We barely, if ever, got to see Diana interact with any of the Wonder Girls.
Of course, because they don't care.
Which, by the way, you know what's kind of funny about that? Again, with Young Justice, I have to bring this up because it's hilarious. It's when, like, they started using the DC AMU designs, even though it's not canon to the DC AMU. I'm like, why does Wonder Woman look like she's in Justice League War?
That was just lazy, and that is pretty much the start of their budgets being slashed.
Yeah, because it's like, before she had the more classic look, and then they went backwards. But then the DCMU, they went the other way. So I'm like,
what happened?
What? I'm like, wait a minute here. Did I miss something? Have these been canon the entire time?
Right.
probably no, but still. So then you get to fan reception and discourse. It's like it's kind of funny again. Angela is somewhat in some ways what outside fans think Wonder Woman is. Like a warrior that like is only interested in women and stuff.
Right.
Whereas Angela, you have the first off, Angela is firmly like LGBTQ, so you have that full on representation, which is great. And the criticism, it's like she doesn't get the priority, but then again, because she's a side character in Thor, again referring to my point about how if Wonder Woman was a Marvel character, she wouldn't get the priority. Hey, what's up, NJ? And then it's like she would be underused by Marvel. Again, my point there. But it's like the thing about like the other thing about Angela. She also has some controversy. So you know how I always talk about all new, all different, right, Britt?
Mm-hmm.
So they had a story where Angela was fighting Gore, who is basically, Bor, who is Odin's father. And Odin's father starts going off on this rant, but they only use like, they use like, some weird translation stuff, so it comes across as blatantly offensive rhetoric, misogynistic opinions, and then the part that is memed on for the yin yang, unsolicited opinions on Israel. Like
what?
Bor, father of Odin, all of a sudden is like concerned with Israel, and I'm like, it was Jason Aaron trying to be relevant, but I'm like, what? Asgard cares about Israel?
I can see that, being a topic in maybe Captain America or something.
Yeah.
But Thor, very much
exactly.
Politics was coming out, and I mean, it just depends on like, does Thor? Yeah, does he even care? Like,
no, he doesn't. He cares about protecting the entire Earth. But let me tell you this, Britt. As much as Thor doesn't care, would his grandfather care?
Yeah, I think that Aaron probably wanted some type of points with that, which is, I mean, again, if you're going to do something like that, which is so serious too, if you want to make a statement, it would be with Captain America or, let's see, who else? Even
Iron Man,
if you're
probably.
Maybe Iron Man. If you even want to be with the X-Men, especially with Storm and dealing with that, or T'Challa or something. But Thor, yeah, that was not the character. Maybe the right message, but not the wrong messenger.
But that's all it said, by the way. It was unsolicited opinions on Israel, and that got clowned hard, Britt. You see why I always say all new, all different was a mistake with Marvel. So, go ahead.
Oh, nothing.
All right, so the comparative takeaway. So Wonder Woman is like a character that is iconic but not treated as such, and Angela is a character that could be iconic if she's given the proper attention. Do I have that right?
Right.
And it's like Wonder Woman is supposed to represent like the best, because here's the thing about Wonder Woman. She's one of those characters that it's like, she, like Angela, is universal. Guys can like her, unless you're Tom King, because apparently he thinks that's an issue. There's like, and Angela, guys certainly like her. But it's like, so it's like, you have the potential. These characters should not be struggling the way they are, especially Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is one of the faces of the entire goddamn company.
Right.
Like, why is her comic now selling in Space 100?
Well, because you have an incompetent writer. And they should have known better that, yeah, Tom King might have had the popularity of his name, but when it comes to storytelling, especially for Wonder Woman, yeah, you're going to end up in the gutter.
And I found out, if you look at like the critical acclaim of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, most of that is not about the writing, it's about the art, which is,
right.
That's about 90. Every single book Tom King sells, he just coasts on the fact that the art is good.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, if he didn't have well-known artists, his book would tank hard.
Well, even with, some solid artists, his books have still tanked.
That's true. The other thing I like about Angela is that she's not defined by Thor. Because, yes, she's a Thor side character, but she does a lot to try to separate herself from Asgard and not be stuck, as just another Asgardian princess. It's more like, I happen to be from Asgard. I don't want to be from Asgard because she was raised to hate Asgard. But then it's more like, I'm just going to exist, in other words. Mm-hmm. Which is great. So then we get to History of Angela. All right, so here's what I was talking about. So in the 90s, Todd McFarlane has Spawn. And to screw with Marvel, what he wanted to do is he wanted to have all the well-known artists, writers come and write for him. So we had Neil Gaiman and Alan Moore came and wrote Spawn comics. So one of the things he told Neil Gaiman is, no, come and hang out. I'll treat you better than DC has treated you. And you can, what you should do is you can own any character you create. And by the way, this was never written down. This is very clear. It's not a written contract. It was more of an oral contract. So when Todd started making action figures, he was making so Gaiman created medieval Spawn, Cagliostro. It's a Spawn character, and then Angela. So when McFarlane started making the action figures, all of a sudden it's like Neil Gaiman asked him, "Hey, am I getting a royalty check from this because I created the character?" So Todd just gave him a check and stuff. But eventually, it's like he gave him one check. And then it's like Neil Gaiman eventually sued Todd and took him to court. And because remember, Image was started under the idea that that when you create something at Image, you own that character. So what happens is takes him to court, and McFarlane can keep Cagliostro and Medieval Spawn, but Neil Gaiman got Angela. Now, as a big FU to Marvel, but at the same time, Gaiman is writing a book called Marvel 1602, which is basically reimagining Marvel characters in the Victorian England. And you know what he put in the dedication, Britt?
What?
He said, to Todd for making this necessary.
Wow. And
then, so as a screw you to Todd, that's when Gaiman sold Angela to Marvel, because McFarlane hates Marvel because of the way they treat him. So anyway, Angela and Spawn is like an assassin sent to kill any hell spawn that hell creates, if you will. And she's a bounty hunter. Now, what's interesting, she and Spawn met in battle. She did die. Here's the interesting thing about this. She also was a Spawn love interest.
Really?
Yes, that's all the more interesting considering where she aligns now in terms of sexual orientation. But it's briefly, because they both were in hell or heaven, somewhere in the paradise dimension. They both started a short relationship, and then obviously she died and was never brought back. That's the other thing. She was never brought back. And then, so after it was sold to Marvel. So Marvel did this event by Bendis. I can say his name because I'm talking about his Marvel work, called Age of Ultron. In this, Ultron has taken over the world, basically gone full Terminator Skynet. And the Avengers have this idea, let's go back in time and convince Hank Pym to not create Ultron. So they go do that. And I'm truncating it. That's what eventually happens. Wolverine goes back in time with Sue Storm. And Wolverine's plan is to kill Hank Pym, because their idea is if we tell Hank Pym not to invent something, his scientist curiosity will get the better of him, and he'll still do it. So they end up killing Hank Pym. They go back to the main universe, and it's even worse. So they go back again in time travel and have to stop Wolverine. Wolverine has to stop himself from killing Hank Pym. I know it's really confusing. I have a perfect clip for that. Hang on. Here's my clip for that.
Time travel.
Anyway, so they eventually go back in time and stop Ultron from being activated. So what happens is, because of the constant time travel, there was a shattering of the multiverse and a shattering of the timeline. And then, remember I told you that Odin sealed off the 10th realm? Well, those seals were finally broken. And then all of a sudden you see this warrior named Angela just like hanging out here. And everyone's like, okay, who is this Wonder Woman looking character? And then, wait, is it this? Yeah. So then you have the storyline Original Sin, which basically was the Red Skull's daughter managed to supercharge some supervillains with like Asgardian technology and basically turn them into super like soldiers. And this is where, like, to counter them, Iron Man created Asgardian armor and stuff. And actually, this is where Bucky Barnes as Captain America ended up dying. He would later be brought back, of course, because it's Marvel. And this is where Angela was revealed as Aldrich Odin's daughter, the lost sister of Thor, lost twin sister. So she was taken from them as a baby, raised in heaven, and heaven hates Asgard, so she was raised to hate Asgardians. And then it's like, through the arc, she goes through an identity crisis, and she's like, who am I? Am I loyal to the angels? But I'm also like, they lied about who I was because they abducted me. So she eventually said, I'm not going to be defined by heaven or hell. I'm going to go off on my own. So she would pretty much she even served on the Guardians of the Galaxy for like a long time. So what do you think of Angela's history so far, Britt?
Very interesting and compelling.
Yeah, exactly. So then you have the Queen of Hell storyline. So obviously her wife is dead. So she overthrows Hela, Queen of the Dead, and becomes the ruler of Hell, obviously temporarily. And then you see this is where she reunites with Sarah, and they obviously get married and stuff. Yeah, Randy, I said that. And then obviously you reveal who Sarah was. It's like she's a trans woman that. Well, here's the thing: if she was a man first and she was with Angela, and then she's a woman now and with Angela, wouldn't that technically make Angela also bisexual?
Well, yes.
Yeah, because I'm like, how does that work? Because I don't think we've ever seen that in like comics happen. Because I'm like, she's with him.
I think so.
She's with him, and then it's like, man, Greg Rucka would love this character. I'm sorry, I have to be petty about that. And then this became one of Marvel's most explicit LGBTQ relationships. They're in every like Pride issue they do. And again, this is what I find it's interesting. Is like, they did it where Angela didn't really have a history of dating men in the Marvel universe. So it's not like when they made Iceman gay, and it was like he had the history of just being a womanizer and never showed any interest in men. And I get that sometimes happens in real life. But Britt, you know this as a writer. You can't, there are certain allowances you can't allow for in writing. You have to set something up in order for the payoff to work, right?
Right.
So that's kind of, you can't skip steps. And luckily with this, hey, they didn't skip steps. That's why, again, all you people are like, you just don't like to see two comic book women together. I'm fine with this. No problems here. It's like the Wonder Woman Reddit basically says you would go after any Wonder Woman with a female character. I'm like, give me one that isn't creepy and maybe I'll think about it. But they won't. Right, Britt? They won't.
No, it would be honestly, with relationships in general for Diana, it has to be for Diana. It feels like a lot of the ships are for the benefit of the other character, and they are mostly fans of that other character. Whether it is, even with you bringing up Artemis, it was because they want Artemis to have more of a prominent role, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she has to be romantically involved with Diana. They can be the sisters, the partners, or whatever that bring their tribes together. But even if you do like them as a pairing, I mean, we still haven't seen them actually romantically involved, even with those subtle type moments. They have never had anything like that. So you really are just basing everything off of Earth 1, which again, in the context, Artemis did
It's
see
really
Diana
bad.
as a baby.
Yeah, and people say we're not talking about like yeah, but Rand, we're talking about main continuity here because people use the main continuity and use Elseworlds images to promote in main continuity, and it doesn't work. Anyway,
even with
yeah,
that,
Mhm.
Diana
it's
was
supposed to be
not.
Kara and Tom King. I almost said Tom King. Might as well. Tom Taylor saying it's not Kara, and I'm like, bro, then why did she look exactly like Kara?
I mean, it's very much, if it quack like a duck, look like a duck, it's a duck. So that is definitely Kara with the blonde hair, the way her hair is cut, her mannerisms, or how she is written, is definitely Kara. And it's weird because Diana was in main continuity her mother figure in a sense, or her older sister. So to try to put them together, and especially again how they are drawn, Diana looks older than her still. So yeah, it doesn't fit.
Don't tell these fans, Britt. Don't tell these fans. Anyway, and you have Angela, Asgard's assassin, and this is where she where like the relationship becomes more central, and Sarah obviously comes back like fully, and they like get together and stuff. Now, as far as I know, we haven't really seen Sarah in the comics that much. Again, because it's most likely because Angela does not have a solo series. So it's like, why would she show up in a random Thor issue? Because Angela has shown up in Thor, but it's like, why would Sarah show up randomly? So it's like I get that to a certain degree.
Right.
So then so let's talk about Angela and Sarah, because it's like, this is the other thing. Again, this is a compelling relationship because it's more like even beyond the fact that it's LGBTQ, it's like the idea that like it's all about them like escaping expectations and systems in order to be together. And I'm like, it just happens to be that they're two women. So it's like, you know what? It actually, that's the way you should do relationships. Don't emphasize the fact that it's like LGBTQ. Just emphasize that it's a good relationship, because guess what? It will work. That's what happened with like Midnighter and Apollo in this.
Right.
Because everyone has a relationship. So it's like, if you make it more general enough, again, why the X-Men have always been popular. If you make, I get that you want for representation purposes, but if you make it only that way, you're going to alienate the fans that could make this bigger. But of course, Marvel is all about alienating fans. So anyway, so Britt, what do you think of Angela and Sarah?
Well, it is on the scale of 1 to DC. I would say it is, or DC to 10. Marvel does appreciate giving couples chances, and they do have better romantic stories, I would say, and with all the messiness that includes that's included with all of that. So I would say they are a better pairing than how DC treats when they want to have Wonder Woman in a bisexual relationship. That is better.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, because also here's the other key thing. Again, why I support this and not the Amazons. Sarah did not see Angela as a baby. I'm sorry, that just kills it for me. And they could say, well, other Amazons have joined via the Well of Souls. Yeah, but the Amazons that people ship her with weren't.
Right.
I guarantee you, Britt, there are people that ship her with frickin' Hippolyta.
Well.
Am I wrong, Britt?
No, you're not.
Anyway, so when you get to her last appearances, obviously she's been in Marvel Rivals, exactly. And she's been in a lot of like ensemble books, like as Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's the other thing that I think they do really well with Angela to separate her from Thor. She's more of the space Asgardian, which actually works really well because it makes her more unique as opposed to just Thor going through the 10 realms. But with Angela, it's more like she can like hang out in space. And I've long said, why can't they give Wonder Woman space adventures? Because they used to do that in like the 90s.
Because, I mean, how could she have a space adventure when they don't even know, first, her power level? They can't decide whether she can breathe in space or not. And then she has to have Steve with her at all times. And who cares for Steve to now turn into an astronaut or whatever?
Well, look at Post-Crisis, where there was a storyline where Wonder Woman has to go into space because women are being oppressed. So she ends up, enslaved on a planet, but she also, when she's like a prisoner, she has to be very careful on how she uses her powers to help her like do the yard work, do the like prison work, because she knows that if all the attention's put on her, they're going to start like attacking the other women more because like, why can't you do as well as Diana? So she eventually leads a revolt, and then they end up flying through space on a pirate ship.
I mean, this is why it made sense for Diana to be involved with Warworld.
I know, right? But of course she was dead then. But here's when you think about it, it would be if she were there. I would think it would be Clark, Diana, maybe the Hawks. There's any number of characters that I think would have worked better than the Authority. But again, I guess he wanted to use the Authority, which I'm like, okay, PKJ, I get it. But it's like, I'm like, Scott Snyder, why'd you have to kill one? Oh, you know why? Because it was all a setup for 5 freaking G. Because Wonder Woman was going to be dead in 5G, Britt.
Yes, she was, because she's old as dirt already.
And apparently, according to Dan DiDio, one of the things was they were going to have a man become Wonder Woman.
I did not hear about that, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm like, no. So there's a reason why the entire internet said no. But anyway. So then you have the evolution of the character. In the Spawn, let me put it this way. The Spawn book, she's just an assassin that wants to kill things. At least in Marvel, yes, she's an assassin that enjoys combat, but she's much more heroic than she was in the Spawn books, and that says a lot. And it's like, I like how like I like how she has endured throughout like legal troubles and stuff. And but I also really like the way that they use her to like do things Thor won't, like in combat and stuff. And it's like the way that like Angela like paves the way for representation as such in a way that doesn't alienate people. But yeah. So then we get to the final insight. Angela's comic history is one of transformation and reclamation. She's a weapon, from being a weapon to being like a warrior trying to navigate. Because imagine your entire like existence is revealed to be a lie, and the guy that you're fighting ends up to be your actual brother.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is very compelling. And I would say that she has more, more to offer than just a supporting character, background character for Thor. To have that sibling rivalry, again, I know that he has that sort of thing with Loki at some points, but to have that with a sister, and also with who is that? Hela as well. I think, it just to have that sort of sibling, um, rivalry, war, or whatever that really goes into the mythology of gods and everything like that. Because that is what mythology basically is. You do have that war against your own family and stuff. So I would actually read a Angela Solo story if it was something like that.
Me too. By the way, in the comics, Hela is actually Thor's niece.
Oh, what the hell? Whatever.
There's a lot that movie ruins when it comes to Thor. Let me put it to you that way. Yeah, and Angela's a great character. That's partly why I wanted to do it. Is she's one of those Marvel. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, it's nothing short of soap operas, because you have a lot of brother, cousin, uncles, step cousins, step uncles that or whatever, that people uh, or you have your brother uncle, you know so I would say that the MCU pretty much took from a lot of the soap operas. And you have mythology, the Greek mythology, where Hera and Zeus are brother and sister, but married. So they're husband, husband, brother, and sister, wife.
She calls him brother husband, and I'm like,
just disgusting. But whatever.
No, why? So let's talk about this crossover story that we always do. Right. And by the way, Britt, real quick, your title was so good, I had to make that the title of the stream.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's always fun to think of these characters and see what fits them. So this story is basically, what we've talked about, and how they are able to I guess see each other's perspective. We always want these characters to be outside of their own realm. And of course we have the portal open, sort of.
The portal opens.
Right. We have to have that, because that is the only way you will have, Marvel and DC interact. So, with this, it's basically, a fracture tears through the divine order, multiple pantheons, the gods of Olympus and of heaven and everything. So, reality is being rewritten, stripping autonomy from entire worlds, and in the name of quote unquote the perfect order. Basically, gods want to have even more control over humanity, or mortals, and all of different planets, or worlds, dimensions, and things like that. So at the center of the crisis, of course, you have two warriors who have opposing ideologies. And again, we always want to have pretty much a character study for these characters. So you have Wonder Woman, who is the champion of compassion and truth. And then you have Angela, who is basically, she does not care for the system. She is basically F the system. And if I have to chop some heads off, then it is what it is.
Oh, heads are gonna roll.
So it begins as a clash of philosophies, but then it is to free souls and free the people, but they have to understand that it's some things that, okay, you don't have to have the sword, and then at the same time Diana has to learn that talking is not always the answer, that you will have to dog walk someone with your fist or a blade, maybe. Mm-hmm. So act one. So of course the portal opens, the fracture and everything like that. So you have that rupture in Themyscira, Asgard, and heaven. The Olympian gods, they are led, of course, by Zeus. He is the villain within this story, because he is the one that has that authoritative attitude within the Perez run. So, of course, loss of inspiration from Perez, and that is who Zeus is. But I still think of Zeus design as New 52, I just can't get over um the Santa Claus look, you
Yeah,
know?
it looks so stupid.
I no. So he is pretty much pictured as New 52 design Zeus.
Or Blood of Zeus.
Or well, he wasn't evil.
He was
I
no. I'm not talking about in terms of design.
oh well,
When you think about it, he looked like New 52 Zeus.
he did. He did. So, yeah, either way, Blood of Zeus or New 52, whichever way. So, of course, you have Diana and Angela in the middle of the clashes of basically these titans. Um, so Diana, of course, she's going to go against Olympus because she does not abide, even though she may pray to them, and respect them. When they are wrong, she's going to call them out. So she is very much opposed to that, and she does not care. She does not fear them that they would do something to her because she will fight back. So she's basically saying that, you would know that peace without choice is not peace. That is something that people want. They want to have the freedom of choice. And with Angela, she's basically like, chaos within the heavens, and she wants to figure out what's going on. She's not asking any questions. She's just going to end up fighting.
Yeah.
So the first counter with Diana and Angela, of course, because Angela is furious and she wants to fight, she goes head to head with Diana. Diana is more on the defense mode, and she's trying to talk Angela into understanding that they could be on the same side.
Mm-hmm.
So once they realize that they are both on the same side, it's kind of like, okay, I still don't trust you as much. But well, with Angela, Diana, she's going to be a little naive, and she's going to try to, see Angela as a sister regardless. So she is a little bit more open, while Angela needs a little bit more time to open up.
Yeah.
So Act 2. Act 2 is basically, as I said, the alliance is uneasy, where Diana is more open and she believes that things can change and reform. Angela is like, no, these systems just need to be destroyed. Everything needs to just be totally wiped out and, in a sense, start over. So they travel across the fractured realms. The Amazons are being rewritten as obedient soldiers or warriors. And that's basically, what if they didn't fight back against Hercules? What would happen to them? And then mortal women are stripped of their own agency. So even in present day, women are more so back in the time where they were these housewives, or since we're doing like a magical thing, they turn into say possessed Stepford wives in a sense. So Diana, she sees this and it's scaring her because she sees her sisters back, going through the trauma that they went through thousands of years before she was born. She sees her mother in that sort of pain, and to actually witness it, it changes her perspective um, in a lot of things, but she doesn't want to um, turn on herself because violence is not the answer for her. On the other hand, Angela is like, yeah, you need to go dog walk some people. Just go ahead and do it. But she also is very much reserved about what she sees, and she is um, going to, again, still fight. So again, as I said, this is a character study. So Diana is questioning, what should she do? Should she go ahead and, it's not a bad thing. It's kind of like where she was in that dilemma of sacrifice when she had to, you know, was it ruining her reputation to snap Lord's neck in front of millions, or, not do it and sacrifice billions of people. And she made that judgment, and she, had to do what she had to do. But it also shows the contradiction and, hypocrisy of man, the way that people view certain things of Max Lord. Even if he is the appearance of a mortal man, he is very much a monster within. While Medusa, she looks in appearance of a monster, but inside she was a victim.
Mhm.
So things like that Diana has to make that snap judgment in this sense of, you know, can I now truly defy, these gods and fight them? She doesn't kill them or anything. It's just how to defeat Zeus by his own game. Whether it is to, like I said, not to kill him, but how to basically imprison him. And this is a full circle of, well, Zeus imprisoned um, the Titans, So that is a full circle that Diana has to now imprison him.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
with Angela, she's basically questioning, is freedom, she has fought this whole time alone, and she has done things her way. But at the same time, she is losing control because, yeah, she is this tough as nails fighter, but is anyone actually listening to her? Is she actually making that change, or is she making it worse? Is she making things more violent? When she is supposed to be about change, but is it the only way to make that change violence?
Yeah, exactly.
So that is when she learns to trust Diana.
Yeah, exactly. So, Act 3?
Yes.
Act
So
3.
with that, of course, we have the whole rebellion. So here you go with the basically the fight. You have the fight. Diana again refuses to kill Zeus, but she will imprison him until, I guess, he learns his lesson or whatever. You have Hera on her side, of course. You have Aphrodite. I would say Ares. She probably has to fight Ares because he enjoys war. War is who he is. So again, going by Perez of how Diana, even if she did have to physically fight, it's still something about her speaking with her voice. And with Angela, she basically is ready to execute Zeus. But Diana, as the teacher she is, she shows the logic that this is not the way, this is something that we're trying to break. We are trying to show that their ways of violence, their ways of, you know, domination is not the way.
Yeah, of course.
So again, you have that philosophical battle. Diana does use the lasso on Zeus, and with that, she reveals his truth: is that Zeus doesn't want to become. Um, it's kind of like they don't want to become forgotten, and they want to have that hold of worship. Because in a meta sense, as the world evolves into a lot of this technical world that we have today, a lot of people don't study mythology. That is pretty much why in the 2010s there was a big boom of, you had Percy Jackson, you had
Yep.
Clash of Titans, you had, I'm pretty sure Blood of Zeus was, even if it did come within the 2010s, it was still,
Ideating or something like that.
it was,
Plus,
yeah,
there's been like comic adaptations of like Percy Jackson and like the Odyssey before, so it's like it's not like that. We also had Troy.
exactly. So you've had these different TV shows or movies to show you mythology, Greek mythology, and how every generation has it to keep up the legend, to keep people informed with it or whatever. And so with that, in this world, in this story, you don't have that. So people are forgetting the stories. People are forgetting the gods. They don't believe that they existed, things like that. So with that, Zeus is very much with his conceitedness and everything, and how people don't take him serious anymore, or worship him, think of him, you know, he doesn't want to lose that. So with that, Diana chooses, she doesn't spare the system or anything like that. With that, she is saying, well, she's going to take control of it. And I would say, think of Immortal Wonder Woman when Diana restarts the universe within her own image of, people having freedom with things like that. Um, so with that, of course, I did think that Diana uses the lasso on everyone, or is some type of big magical thing of how she gets the power to restart the spiritual structure of everything.
Kind of like where she used the lasso to augment the wish machine in Crisis.
Basically, yeah, that.
That actually works. Wow.
Right.
See, this is why I love your writing. You factor everything in.
Thank you. So now we are on Act 4. So here we go. The divine system do collapse again. Diana is trying to fix it in her image, but at the same time, her image, of course, is for people to get back to how they were, the freedom and everything like that, and to and in a sense, she doesn't want her sisters to go back to how they felt, when they were tormented by Hercules. That history and past is still there, but she doesn't want that to be their future of any type of being afraid that that's going to happen again. So Diana, of course, she helps rebuild just everything. Again, everything goes back to normal. She isn't showing any type of dominance. She is just showing guidance. And again, you are emphasizing that Diana is that teacher. Angela, she refuses any throne. She doesn't want anything like that, but she stays, within she stays within the realm, the central realm of it, to, in a sense, have that sort of protectiveness towards it. Say if, I don't know, Ares or something, or someone else tries to take over like Zeus did, then she is there as that protector, and she stays, just for a bit, um, until they find some type of barrier to create in order to protect that whole uh, central realm. But overall, Diana, she evolves into this powerful teacher that everyone looks to guidance, especially even with the gods. They look at her as well as she is supposed to be their answer, because the gods are selfish, but Diana is not. She is, in a sense, again, she is a human woman. She is an earth woman, but she is the purest form of that. And with being, you know having this divine power, she has that balance of both, and that is what they need. Because yeah, it's true, being a god, you are above humanity and everything, and being a mortal, you just kind of look down still, and you think lesser. But with being an in-betweener of both, you have different perspectives. And Diana, she has a wider perspective of everything. She sees the big picture of things. And that is pretty much how she wants the world to go into, of seeing the bigger picture, so people can be the best of their, of who they can be.
Yeah.
With Angela, she becomes not a weapon. She doesn't, now she's learning from Diana not to be that strike first, ask questions later type thing. She will be a little bit more patient and tolerant, and she will be that protector. And understands that connections and trust is not weakness. So the final thing is that they both stand together and they, say thank you for helping and all of that and what they learned from each other. How, yeah, it is a little bit awkward that they have to go back to their own uh, realms within the portal, but this central portal is their, I would say, meeting spot, that we look, that we watch over it for a time. And so Diana, she continues to say that she wants to continue to build something better, while Angela, she said, well, I I'm not a good at building certain things, but I can be that protector and that right hand if needed.
Yeah.
So again, the core themes of this are, it's feminism. And it's basically about these women who fight in different ways, but also can come together. They, to show the strength of a woman. And in a sense, how I would say woman did create, life. And it does because of motherhood. A woman carries the baby for 9 months, and that is life within her. So essentially, Diana is that um, physical form of Mother Nature, and how she, again, being that in betweener, creates that balance of Mother Nature. And then you have morality, of course, whether it's mercy versus justice, reform versus destruction. It's not so much as destroying everything. Diana didn't truly destroy it. She just, in a sense, she just rewind time, in a sense. Think of it that way, instead of just a, a, a complete destruction of starting over the worlds. And then, of course, power. How Zeus, he is this powerful man, so he abuses his power. But Diana, as powerful as she is going to use her power to protect. And then identity, of course. Diana is defined by ideals. She is defined by her ways, her Amazon ways, and the history of her Amazon sisters, and what guides her, motivates her to be the fighter that she is for the equality of other women. Tom King, you need to learn that. Angela, she is defined by defiance. She is going to fight. She is going to you know, go against the grain and be that, be rebellious in a sense. But at the same time, she learns that, okay, not all the time does she have to rebel against so much. But together they pretty much redefine both. That it helps, it might harm a little bit, but again, it's a balancing act.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me about Green Lantern 36, Britt. And by the way,
Okay,
story was awesome. I give it a 10 out of 10.
thank you. Okay, so here with finally caught up with Green Lantern, and this is the issue from last month actually, which is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked
You're caught up.
that I'm really caught up on this. So this is a post arc aftermath issue. It's very light on things. The artwork is it's okay. But this is very much a Kyle issue, and it introduces Jade, one of his exes, now girlfriend again, I guess, whatever. So you have that awkwardness of reintroducing her, and them getting together. You do have a lot of character moments and plots um, coming up to see what's going, um, what's next for the Lanterns. But again, this is turning into more of a Kyle Rayner book.
Yeah. Yeah, well, which is fun because Kyle's a really dope character, and Jade is actually really interesting because she's like the daughter of Alan Scott and stuff. So I really like that. Yeah, the art is like okay. It's not like it's like compared to Zermanico, it's like, what do you want to say here? But it's like when it comes to like let's say when it comes to like writing, I still think Jeremy Adams is kind of killing it.
Yeah, it's still pretty good.
So, so you rate this one 7.5 out of 10? I'll give you that. I'll give you that. So we'll do a little Q&A before we wrap up. And Britt, if you have to leave at any time, just let me know. But I just wanted to get your reactions to the sales of Tom King's Wonder Woman from ICV2 down to 100. Are you there, Britt?
Sorry, you meant me?
Yes, I did.
Well, like I said, I mean, you killed off the main character, so obviously no one would care for that. You also started the arc or whatever with killing off Jon Stewart. So that was a strike as well, and no one cares for matriarch. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it dropped that drastic to 100.
Yeah, that's the funny part about it, because I remember I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, how far could it have possibly dropped? No, it's at 100. That's the lowest I think it's ever been.
Yes, it is. So with that said, definitely once it hits that 100 mark, it's very hard for it to get back up. So honestly, I would say that it's pretty much over now.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, again, at least from what Jeremy told us when we interviewed him, DC has a floor that books are not allowed to go below. Otherwise, it's instant cancellation. I like to think it's 100. I could be wrong, but yeah, you are right. Once it not only is it at 100, it's at 100 when this is supposed to be one of the biggest Wonder Woman events ever.
Exactly.
I'm like, what are you doing? It's like at this point, see here, and the other thing is like we heard from a source that like he's expected to get another arc after Wonder War. I would not be surprised if that vanishes because of this.
Honestly, I think that arc or whatever is probably going to be the wrap up and only going to be probably like 5 issues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the funny part about it. I'm like, okay, wait a minute here. So that's what you're going for. So you guys honestly thought that King would actually lead to more sales for this Wonder Woman book, and arguably it keeps going lower and lower and lower. I even because someone tried like question, it's like it really hasn't. If you notice, this book hasn't gone. This book hasn't gone past 50 at all. Wait, anyway, Britt, if you need to go, you can go ahead and knock off. Do you have any stories you want to tease us with?
Okay, yeah. So, of course, it is the rest of Odyssey, chapter 4, and Shelter. Also, that chapter is a little longer. I have changed quite a bit, for the holiday seasons, so and summertime as well, because it's summer and the feeling of it is detrimental with the heat. So that is something that I thought of and want to put in a few scenes with that. Also, I have a couple of one shots. Of course, new music means new stories for me, so those one shots will be up for June soon. And I think I mentioned this, but I started a subtrack. I'm still setting it up, and then I will send Jared the link to add, and also put it on my Twitter and everything. I do have Wonder Woman threads that will be on Twitter soon as well. Those threads I might transfer to the subtract and only have them because having Twitter character limits is very annoying.
Yes, it is.
So I will probably transfer those threads to subtract. And that is it.
All right. Well, you have a great night, Britt.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye. Okay, and I'll answer any questions you guys have about Marvel, Angela, Wonder Woman. But yeah, no, it could be almost over, Cameron. Because again, here's the issue here. because again, there is a ceiling that DC Comics has that's like the books cannot under any circumstances go this low. Otherwise, the books get insta-canceled. Again, that's what happened with Jeremy Adams. So my thinking is that's what's going to happen here. All of a sudden, it'll be like, no, I'm not going to get another arc or something like that. Or we'll get the announcement because San Diego Comic-Con excuse me, is happening and DC is doing like all those events. So I like to think that it's conceivable that DC would be like, okay, we're done here. Okay, we're done. We can announce it, which would be hilarious because it was at San Diego Comic-Con where he was kicked off of Batman because the Batman book went below that sales target. So that would be the ultimate form of irony. But it's like, look at this. It's like Wonder Woman went down to 100, ladies and gentlemen. On a list of 100, on a list of 200, it went to 100. So I'm like, at what point are you looking at this with DC and deciding for this arc that's supposed to bring a lot of people back, which, yes, the first issue of the arc did moderately well, went up to like 62 or so, somewhere there. And it was like, okay, that would be interesting. That's kind of where I can see this going really well. But it's like, I get it because, again, it's always the start of a new arc is typically when, like, the books start to do better because more people are interested to see if maybe he'll fix it. Spoiler alert, he didn't. He really didn't. And then it's like, when you look at, like, what's been going on with Wonder Woman, it's like, yeah, maybe what you guys really ought to do is actually put some emphasis into Wonder Woman and not actually like give any rando the authority to write the book. But what do I know? I'm just a YouTuber that got copyright struck by Warner Brothers. But what am I gonna do? What am I gonna say here? Anyway, so you guys ask whatever, Wonder Woman, Angela, whatever questions you guys would like to ask, go ahead and drop them. Angela says, hopefully, Angela. NJ says, hopefully it's over. Yeah, it could very well be. At this point, NJ, if the book does not recover, I could see, also remove the editor, please. Yeah, we'll see about that. But if the book is doing this badly and continues to do this badly, I can see it ending at 40. 40 to 45 was always my thing, but I'm still saying I would say 40 is the area where I'm like, I think that it could very well be we're approaching the end, which King has indicated in the past that he wanted to leave the book. So because it's like he was getting a lot of work when it comes to DCU stuff. So it's like, it's not unbelievable that all of a sudden it would be like he's not interested. Plus, here's the thing. If you're a writer and you want to write a book, conceivably when you want to write a book, because we both know that like he really doesn't want to write Wonder Woman, but let's say he did. When your run is constantly being bashed by the fans over and over and over again, are you really gonna want to stay in that? Are you? No, the answer is no, right? So I'm just like, what? Do you think we should support issue 35 and 30? Yes, because here's why. Because you want to show that, like, if fans support, like, let's say the sales go up a little bit with Stephanie and then they go back down with King, that is sales proof that, oh, okay, the fans just do not like Tom King's Wonder Woman. So that is where I'm like, okay, that's where I'm like, you should at least like consider doing it. I still say support it. I say support it for the very least because Stephanie is a diehard Wonder Woman fan. She 100% deserves our support for stuff. And it's like, she definitely is like, she knows Wonder Woman very, very, very well and loves the character deeply. That's my point. At the very least, support her because of Stephanie. And if there's ever anyone that could write Wonder Woman and the Amazons well, it's her. I think she at the very least deserves a little bit of support. Because after all, again, it's like she is one of the few writers that Britt and I would trust as the ones as to repair Trinity if DC decides to keep her around. But it's like if there's a writer that clearly loves Wonder Woman, I don't care if you're writing within the confines of a really shit run. I'm going to support your work because I want you to keep getting support with Wonder Woman. If fans boycott it, there's no guarantee she will get like more Wonder Woman work, because DC could interpret it as, okay, they also don't want anyone on Wonder Woman. No, I'm like, put someone like Stephanie that understands the book. A Wonder Woman in space, which should be a great way as Wonder Woman exit from that would actually work really well as like a break or a vacation from Earth, because she needs to like take a break. She goes to space and there's like more stuff that she can do. She can explore time as like a Star Sapphire, because they have explored that in the comics, which I really like. And then you could like have more of the whole like she goes to space to like liberate the oppressed. So it's like there's a lot that they definitely can do. The problem is DC doesn't really care as much to do it. That's the problem. If they did, we wouldn't have this many problems when it comes to like people writing Wonder Woman. Has Wonder Woman ever interacted with Atrocitus? During Blackest Night, I believe so, but not like one-on-one interaction, NJ. She has fought Atrocitus at certain points, I think. But it's not like, oh, she's fought Atrocitus or the Red Lanterns. By one Amazon I could see temporarily becoming a Red Lantern is Artemis, because Artemis always seems like that more like angry Amazon, but in a way that's like she has reason to be. It's not like any like crapping on the character, in other words. What do you guys think? Because there's any number of questions you guys could ask when it comes to DC and Marvel and such. But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, look, I know people don't like the Tom King run. I don't like it either. But I'm telling you, we need to support Stephanie Williams on Wonder Woman, because she, again, I think that she has earned it. Of all the writers, again, it's like I wouldn't be as big of a Stephanie fan had I not talked to her and learned more. I would encourage everyone to watch that interview that Britt and I did. It should be in our interviews playlist. You guys can watch it, because there's like a lot, and Stephanie really like demonstrates her love for Wonder Woman and everything she really does. But yeah, but in terms of Wonder Woman, I got some new Wonder books, by the way, I want to show off, which I'll be reviewing these on Amazon Answers. I have The Enemy of Both Sides and The Dark Gods, and these were both the last two arcs of Steve Orlando's Wonder Woman run, so I'll definitely be checking those out and reviewing them for you guys. By the way, what lantern ring would be suitable for each Wonder Woman villain? I think Cersei would be an orange lantern, because agreed? That's a good idea. That's a really good one. I would go with that. In terms of like, let's see. In terms of which Wonder Woman, so for Grail, I would say red lanterns. For yeah. So for Grail, I would say red lanterns. For Dr. Psycho, I would say, and by Dr. Psycho is the small guy. I would say Green. I would say Green Lantern as well. Actually, you could make the argument that for actually no, I was gonna say Cersei could be a Star Sapphire, but that's like you have great love in your heart and she has a lot of hatred. That wouldn't really work. Cersei could be an Orange Lantern. Cersei could also be a Red Lantern because a lot of her motivation is to one degree or another rage to some degree. Now it doesn't mean she has to be a bad person because there are plenty of good Red Lanterns. In other words, Supergirl was a Red Lantern at some point. So again, it's not necessarily, and that's what I like about subsequent explorations of the Lantern Corps. They've shown that like there's even good Sinestro Corps members. But it's like in terms of Sinestro, honestly, Sinestro Corps, that's where I could see like Devastation being, or like Giganta. I think could be Red Lantern. I would say that. I would say so. I would say so. Minerva, Cheetah, Rage because of the like spirit that's like as she corrupted her depending on the adaptation, or it wouldn't be Indigo, wouldn't be Blue. Honestly, yeah, Rage, because the other ones don't really work. Or actually, Cheetah would be a good Yellow Lantern because Yellow Lanterns have to inspire great fear in their hearts. That would actually be working really well. That would actually work really well as a like depiction. Yes, but yeah, so that's pretty much. And NJ, how about you? What lanterns do you think? What lantern rings do you think each Wonder Woman rogue would have? Or if you want to do like your top 3. What other Wonder Woman questions do you guys have that you guys think would be fun topics as well? Because there's like tons of stuff we could talk about. But yeah, that's definitely where I think the Wonder Woman things go in terms of the rage. But yeah, it's like they definitely need to do more to like explore, because it's like first off, the other thing that they shouldn't do is what they're doing when it comes to Tom King's Wonder. Here's the other reason why Tom King's Wonder Woman does not fundamentally work. You ready? It ignores the fact that that she's a mythological character and not just like a character that's wearing the American flag and stuff. All right. Karen says, do you think an ideological difference between Bruce and Diana is something DC trying to lean into? Yeah, to tell people that, guess what? The Wonder Bat thing doesn't work. But then again, you have people that are like, it's a messy romance, and those are great. And I'm like, no, they're not. But it's like, my point is, it's like, because here's the thing, and people have said opposites attract and stuff for relationships, and I'm like, to a degree that is true, but my problem is that when you deal with like opposites attract, when it's a fundamental core of the character or of the individual, that's when the fundamental core that's when the opposites attract thing doesn't work. It just doesn't. But NJ says Ares is red, Cersei can be both orange and green. Willpower? You know what? That actually works. I never thought about willpower. That actually works. Great pick, NJ. Cersei can be red or Star Sapphire. Okay. Cheetah, red or blue. Why? Blue is hope. How is Cheetah necessary? Because Hope is supposed to be like you have the ability to show great hope, essentially, like that. I like Giganta. That actually works. Red Star Sapphire, because she does vacillate in terms of like depictions. You know what? I'm gonna go with that. Seriously, can be both orange and green. The green part, when I think about it, that's actually true. That actually works really well because it's like she is very willful. She has the ability to and she overcomes fear all the time. So that actually works really well. Great job. Wow. I like that one. I'm honestly more worried about bat stands that would say that Diana's a child and how Bruce's ideology is realistic. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You mean the way they are today? They still do that, my friend. They still do that. And it's like, that's the funny part about it. I'm like, no, you're not like this. The problem with a lot of like, what about the story of Billy Bats and Wonder Woman team up in the story of the gods? Well, I'm not. You could do that. Wonder Woman should team up with other characters for sure. I definitely like believe that would actually work. There's some things that they would have to like iron out, but I definitely agree with you. That would actually work pretty well, I think. But yeah, there would be, because the Batman fandom is extremely entitled. Partly because they're like, oh man, it's like DC practically worships Batman. So shouldn't he be like, shouldn't he be the most important? No, he's not. It doesn't have to be like that. What about story with Billy Bats? I already read that. What were the Sorrow and White Lantern? White Lantern is life, and Sorrow is like the sad lantern. You experience great sadness. And for sadness, actually for White Lanterns, I'm not going to say Wonder Woman villains. That would be Diana herself, because she, in like redeeming people as well, she brings like some bit of like renewal and rebirth to some of like her like villains, in other words. So that's kind of where I think. But in terms of like Sorrow Lanterns, you could also do Cheetah from that because of like what she lost. I would say that you could also do that. Not saying you have to be, but it's like that's one where I could see that fitting as a like as pairing a what's the word? Pairing a character to a lantern ring. You could actually go with that. That actually works. A Silver Swan as a Blue Lantern. Hope. Okay, why? Again, it's like you have to give me a why, because just a Blue Lantern, I don't think so. I don't really think that like just being a Blue Lantern would necessarily like work. Yeah. So, what other quick questions do you guys got? What other pairings do you want to see? What other lanterns? What other like what's the word? What other couples comparison would you like to see? There's also a bunch for that we could talk about. Veronica Cale is orange, green, and red. Okay. So let me think about that. Okay, so orange, yes, greedy. Red because of anger, yeah. I could see yellow because she does instill great fear in her enemies. Like, so I could definitely see the fear ring being her other being her like choice. I would say that's another good one. I would say, but when I think about it, NJ, I don't have like anything like against that. What about Dr. Psycho? Dr. Psycho, I think would be like orange. Yeah, orange, definitely orange, because it's more about he wants to like he wants to seduce all the women possible and be a perv. Ultimately, the man is like greedy and stuff. So what else do you guys think? What other questions do you guys have about Wonder Woman? Because we got a lot of stuff. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it's like the thing about it is like with the lanterns, there's like a lot of different ways that you can actually like make her be that you can actually add to people being like in other words, hang on. There's like a lot of like there's like a ton of like different ways you could think about the Lantern Corps to put like different characters in there. That's one of the reasons why there's such a fascinating corner of DC Comics, because it's like they're one of those like worlds that I think definitely like has been explored first off, but like is so rich in lore. Can Greek gods wield lantern rings? You know what? That is a question right there. That is a question. Let me think there. Because I would say, do I think that they could? I mean, I would imagine so, because in the DC universe, the Greek gods are just metahuman. So it's not like they are like beyond that. A Greek god with more power, oh my God, that would be like amazing. But and honestly, kind of funny. I would so pay to see that. That would actually be really, really cool. What else do you guys think? What else do you guys got? But yeah, in terms of like what I really think like to do with like what with like in terms of like where I think by Athena blue and green, Aphrodite, Star Sapphire, and Hera blue and green. Okay, and Hera Star Sapphire and Hera red. Not bad. Not bad. I would say Hera also could get like a green because she is the queen and she's very willful. And honestly, Star Sapphire, because she still like to a degree loves Zeus. And when you think about it, in the Azarello run, he actually did a lot to like redeem Hera, because like yeah, you had the whole Zeus thing. But I mean, you had the whole she turned the Amazons into like stone and stuff and snakes, but she also like ended up like teaming up with Diana and basically trying to like help her. So it's like it's a little bit more like I could see that Dr. Poison being a Black Lantern with the bring back the dead, and poison is the way to make more. That's not how it works though. You have to have previously been dead in order to be a Black Lantern. So that's not how the Black Lantern rings work. It's not like you have the ability to cause great genocide. Yeah, so what other questions you guys got in there? Yeah, if you guys want me to do an entire stream talking about the different Lantern Corps, we could definitely do that. Green Lantern versus the New Gods. Beware you look up for the Greek gods to hold the lanterns. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. I'm not really talking about that story, but okay, fine. But yeah, so what other questions do you guys got? In terms of like DC, Marvel, what do you guys want to talk about? Because I got plenty of time to hang out with you guys. You could even say I like hanging out with you guys, because that's why I do streams. Black Lanterns can revive the dead, but in form of zombie or normal. They go back and forth on that as well, because in the traditional continuity, in the traditional way I've seen it, it is like they're just like they come back as literal zombies, and it's kind of, because when you think about it, the ring goes and inhabits the body of someone that's like decrepit and stuff. That's why when you look at like Blackest Night, when they like go into like graves and they come out like zombies, it's because the bodies were decomposed. That's why they look like that. And it's like I guess it kind of does turn you into like a skeleton or something like that. I mean, that happened to the Anti-Monitor. So that's kind of what I would say. I know Batman went back on that when it comes to like when it comes to like what's the word, when it comes to the way Batman was was a Black Lantern in death metal, but typically it is they come back as zombies. NJ, typically that's the way that works. What other questions you guys have about lanterns? Anything you guys want to talk about? What comics you guys reading? Whatever you guys would like to discuss. Wonder Woman Swamp Thing storyline be a return to Earth and Clay story. Yeah, again, wait, with Clayface? Why Clayface? Because I'm against just cramming Batman characters into Wonder Woman. I don't think they should. Right, but anyway. So what else have you guys got? What else have you guys got? What other comics you guys want to talk about? We're going to need a brand new Wonder Woman origin story again. We're going to get that. This will be more defined and better considering Stephanie is writing it. Do you think King has control over this too? I don't know. If Stephanie's writing it, chances are it'll be more respectful than the previous ones, because it's like, and again, there will be a little bit of angst with Diana, because it's like she was angsty as a kid. She was respectful to her mother. Like the punch, she would never punch her mom in the face, obviously, but it's like she would argue with her. That's for sure. She even argued about being able to leave and go to Man's World. But as long as Stephanie does it where she is like respectful of her mother's authority, I would have to say, I think that is really like a good way to do it. In terms of if King has control over this, I don't necessarily know. I would imagine it's more of like in a broad sense, she has control. He has control. Like essentially, like here's where can you have Wonder Woman be at this point, or like the characters be at this point by the time your two issues are up, and then it's like, and then that's where like he picks up again. That's where I think they're gonna go with that. But in terms of like Wonder Woman be in control. I still think Wonder Woman is going to be good. This we make. No, Clayface isn't the same level as Swamp Thing. Stop again. I don't like bringing random characters for no real reason. I'm just going to say that right there. It's going to say not every Bat character needs to be like that. And making Clayface as big as Swamp Thing, that's not a thing, though. That's not a thing because Swamp Thing is like a god level character and Clayface is not. So it's like that's where I'm a little confused though. And you can't force people to adopt a character, in other words. Are you okay with Diana calling her home a cage as a teenager? Because that's in the new origin story. She did consider it to a degree a cage because, again, you had like Wonder Woman because she wanted to like escape it. She wanted to explore the world. So I'm not necessarily like that against it. You had that in the modern origins where she felt like she wanted to like explore more of the outside world and she wanted to like walk around and explore. Don't take panels out of context is the thing. Remember, again, it's Stephanie. I trust the plan. Let me put it to you that way. So that's why I'm more like you. You definitely just give it a shot, and I think it would actually work out really well. That's my thinking here. Nice be where Wonder Woman came up from it. Yep, Clayface power level and closes off the two bookends right on Earth. Why is Clayface on the? Why is Wonder Woman at the level of Clayface? She's more powerful than him. Clayface is not that powerful, Rand. What are you doing? I know I've said this many times, but a Captain Marvel Wonder Woman story would do so well. Like maybe Billy loses his powers and wants Diana's help, or he wants to learn more about his powers. That would be great. Wonder Woman explaining like all the gods and stuff. So you mean like Shazam, Fury of the Gods should have been? What that should have been? Because wouldn't that have been great if that's what the story was? Wouldn't that have been great, my friends? No, they were like, nah, we're not gonna like do that. Because that would actually work really well of Wonder Woman being like teaching Billy Batson about the gods and the importance of not abusing power and such. That actually works really well. Yeah, basically. All right, so I got some cool comics. You guys want me to show off? I'll show off. So I got the first volume of Josie Campbell's Supergirl. Robert's been raving about this forever, so I had to pick this up. I got the first volume of Ultimate Thor from the original Ultimate Universe because I always wanted to read this book because I love Ultimate Thor and I wanted to like read the book. It's by Jonathan Hickman, my friends. And you guys know I love that. Uncanny X-Men Quarantine by Matt Fraction and Gillen. I love this era of X-Men, so I wanted to like check out more of this. New Avengers Assembled by BMB and David Finch because I love that era of Marvel. And again, it's the century. I want to see that. Then you have Justice League Aquaman Drowned Earth. I kind of wanted to see Superman leave people behind for Lois Lane. But there's that. Maybe he's referring to that one time Cletus absorbed her because writer's stupid logic. Yeah, that's not the way that would work. So that doesn't even work that way. And then, by the way, you can still have the Daughters of Atlas still be the villains. Yeah, exactly. But it's like you would think if like a story called Fury of the Gods, Wonder Woman should team up there. Speaking of Wonder Woman, again, I have The Enemy of Both Sides and Dark Gods by James Robinson and Steve Orlando. I got these. So these are all like the conclusions of their runs. I got As Guardians of the Galaxy as I showed up there. I got Jane Foster, the saga of Valkyrie, when Jane became Valkyrie after being Thor. And then for my latest omnibus, I got The Trial of Captain America. This is the second to last volume of Ed Brubaker's Captain America run. I just need to get the first one, and then I have the entire set in omnibus form, because you guys know I love Ed Brubaker's Captain America run. But yeah, so what other comics questions do you guys got here? And yes, you definitely need like a Wonder Woman teaming up with Billy Batson is like a story that has to happen. As long as Diana is totally respectful to her mother, I'm fine with it, and I trust Stephanie. Yeah, it's like her calling her island a cage. She's called Themyscira that many times to a degree. It's not because, remember, it's not like she's like, I want to leave but never come back. It's, I want to go experience the outside world. I want to see what's beyond our shores. That's baked into Wonder Woman's origin in like practically every version of the story. That's why she like fakes, because remember, even the Perez origin, her mother doesn't want her to go to take part in the tournament. So what does she do? She actually like she disguises herself as another Amazon in order to participate in the tournament. So that's kind of where I align on that, because I'm like, okay, it may not necessarily be the best way of using. It may sound bad, but there's more nuance to it, and why I'm fine with it. Because again, she's not saying I hate this place, or like she's calling it a cage because she's forced to stay on the island. Anyone that's as curious as Diana would want to leave the island eventually, right? It's kind of where I kind of align on it, but I think it's a good place to leave it. This is a fun Super Wonder episode, thanks to Britt. And so we'll talk about what our next episode is going to be. For Wonder Woman Wednesday tomorrow, I'm going to be starting my series on cool team-ups that Wonder Woman has done. And I'm going to be talking about Wonder Woman and Supergirl, obviously not as a couple. I know you guys know that, but I have to say it for some people. But yeah, so I'll talk about Wonder Woman's great, because for the next couple of Wonder Woman Wednesdays, I'm going to be talking about the different team-ups she's done. Like, and it's going to be all female characters, like Mara, Black Canary, Zatanna, a lot of those characters that we all love, because I definitely want to see that explored. And in terms of movie night, we're going to be talking about X-Men Apocalypse. And then again, Amazon Answers. Sorry, I've been slacking with that. Life's been crazy, but I promise I will be doing the Wonder Woman Elseworlds stream next this upcoming Sunday. It'll definitely have Sunday or Monday is my days to do that. But yeah, stay at work, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod or Satan, however you want to do that. Zois the Maxibat for life. See you guys later. Bye-bye.